Welcome back!
Welcome!
How are we all doing out there? Welcome to episode 4 of
Backyard Biz.
This is
Cataline.
Catalin, and we're happy to have you.
And I'm really in the mood for a jam today. Hello everybody, so thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for putting up with our week off. Today we
Yeah.
actually don't have any bees because we are recovering. Recovering from a lot of, what would you call it?
I'd call them casual beers.
Right.
Casual beers and
We're
bourbon.
detoxing.
We're detoxing today, and it goes with the theme of what we were talking about today.
Yeah, we're getting a bit zen today.
Bit zen,
A
bit of a
ling.
ni hao, yin and yang.
So yeah, we've got green teas. Should we do a cheers? Come on, do
Sorry,
a cheers.
your computer
Do a
said it was
cheers.
going to reset itself.
Oh, I love that. I love technology.
So where were you last week, Caitlin? Why did we not have an episode
All right,
out
so
last week? To all our listeners that were waiting
or
episode patiently.
they were just holding on. Well, we actually had last week off uni. Can't even speak, and we're 3 minutes in. Had the week off uni, and one of my friends, or was my boss, kind of became my friend. She has a jewelry line, and it has a lot to do with natural crystals, and it's all solid silver, handmade, and they sell on the Queen Mary. So it's
Big
legit.
cruise liner.
Yeah. So they are asked to commission lines of jewelry and sell it on these boats. And when they're not selling it on the boats, they sell at shows. So the show we went to was the Mind, Body, Spirit show in Darling Harbour in Sydney, right? And it's beautiful stuff, beautiful jewelry there. And the whole show, you've been.
Yep.
You know it very well.
Very, very well.
Yeah. It's basically everything to do with taking care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. So it's a mixed bag.
All them chakras.
Yeah, all the chakras.
All the chakras.
It's a mixed bag, is it not?
Some
It's pretty interesting. There's a
delightful
few
characters.
loonies. And actually a lot of stealing. Did you know that? How many people try and steal at those shows? I could
really need that.
They what the hell? So many old ladies trying to rip off rings. I'm eyes like a hawk. Anyway, so that's what we did.
That is what we did, and it got me thinking, in particular, how fucking amazing is the mind?
Yeah, it's pretty the talks that we were talking about, that we were hearing, because there's a speaker's lounge, and some stalls get put up near the speaker's lounge. So we're at the speaker's lounge, we're listening, we're hearing some bullshit stuff and some really interesting stuff that really gets you thinking. One day I was so I felt everything that was being spoken about was everything that I personally deal with as a human. So I felt so down about it, if that makes sense. Not very uplifted, I'm getting, because I felt it was an attack on me. But anyway, so what are your thoughts? Because I'm always asking you, what is your thoughts about this? Because I'm quite a religious person as well as a spiritual person. I feel I mix a lot of these mediums, Christianity and healing and tarot cards and psychics. I'm extremely interested about what happens beyond the grave.
I'm a skeptic until I see it
right.
for real.
Yeah, well, I know this about you, but obviously.
Yeah. I'm a skeptic until it pops up and it's right there in my face.
Until the ghost of my grandmother stands there and
says,
confesses her love and says, how you going? Yeah, look, I just don't think those things exist.
It's interesting, but the whole concept of mind, what is the mind? Right now, you're
okay. You're getting too existential
you can
for
sit
me.
there right now, and you can hear yourself in your head.
Oh, you mean consciousness?
Like, that's weird, but like, isn't that still mind
yeah,
and
it's
body
really,
and spirit and everything?
well, that has to do a lot with psychology, like the study of the conscious brain. Like the only thing that we will ever know for certain, a lot of philosophers kind of preach this
Yeah.
at people, is the only thing you will ever be certain of in your life is that your conscious mind is yours. So the only thoughts you will ever 100% know are truthful, and you will know that, yes, I am awake now, yes, I am dreaming now, is because your conscious mind is working for you, not other people. Like, I will never be in your conscious mind.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And I was just going to share, like, a few of, like, the funny things that happened. So, I told you about this speaker, and she was talking about the mind and how we form connections and what pulls us. So if you've ever, I'm sure everyone's familiar with crystals. Like you're familiar with, you know, astrology, your birth sign. Most people know what their birthstone is. Like, what's your birthstone? Sagittarius.
Turquoise,
you are,
I think.
and you're December.
December.
So turquoise is your stone.
Turquoise is one of them.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
So people will say, you will most likely be drawn to a turquoise. Like, if there was a table of crystals right in front of us now, you would go, I like that one the most. Right?
Yep. Yep.
So, same as me, I'm an Aquarius. February is my birth month. And my stone is amethyst, which is the purple stone, and yours is blue.
Mine's blue. Yep.
Obviously, there's more than, 2 stones that are blue and purple, but let's just pretend. So they say those are your birthstones, so those stones are always calling you. That's what people are saying. So birthstones release energy, and you will be attracted to different energies. Now, the really interesting thing about working at the jewellery table is people go to psychics in this show. There's a lot of psychics at the show. There's ones in this psychic room where you just put $50 down for like a few minutes, and then you can get any random psychic. So people like believe that, oh, that's meant to be, like they're meant to read me. But it's like a room just like
full of people.
Like, there's honestly like 30 psychics there. 30. And then there's other small booths that have like the more well-known, more established psychics, right?
Psychics are weird.
Okay, relax.
Sorry.
Let's just stick to one thing at a time, please, because you're in a really fluffy mood today, aren't you? Why are you so quiet today?
I'm not quiet.
Are you trying to do healing?
Yeah.
Are you meditating right now?
Meditating ever so slightly.
So, as you past the table, people come up to you at the table and go, oh, do you have any emeralds? Do you have any rubies? Do you have amethysts? Do you have an onyx? Right? So they're asking for all these different stones because this psychic has said to them, you know what you need? You need a protection stone. You need something that's going to make you feel confident and strong. You need a protection stone. Go buy an onyx, which is the black stone. So people come like looking for an onyx, and some people will come to the table and be like, I really need an onyx, but they'll be drawn to the blue things, right? So they also say crystals call, like their energy, you will go to the crystal you need. You will gravitate towards the crystal, stone, whatever that you need at that time, which oddly kind of is true in my case, like in my experience, personally. I can't speak for anyone else. I don't believe in it, but I take note. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I go, okay, there I go. Like some days, like depending what I was feeling, like one day I wore this like, because they get us to model the jewelry. So whatever my boss wanted me to wear was what she really wanted to sell that day, which works because everyone sees it on like a young girl, because there's a lot of like more mature people at this show. And they were like, oh, that looks so nice on you. How much is that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen it when you walked past the stall, it was like a massive rose quartz. Like I'm talking like in solid silver, like about this big on this strand of lavender pearl earrings. and the rose quartz is like love, right? So it's like looking after you, love, and basically that day I was like heaps lovey.
It's so weird how people
I was just like loving everyone. Like I felt the day before I was a bit like, ugh. That day I was just like, oh, how are you going? Oh my gosh, you look beautiful. Like I'm just giving compliments left, right, and center, and they were coming to me, and like I was talking to you all day, and I was like, love you so much, babe. You know what I mean?
Stones are weird, but like, how does someone just sit there and be like, Jesus, that looks blue. I'm gonna make that one represent like loyalty. Like,
I don't know where it's come
the
from.
origins come from are the ones that get me. Like it's.
Well, it's quite an ancient thing. I think it's a pagan.
I don't know.
I think it's pagan.
It has to be some.
I'm pretty sure it's pagan. And pagan people from the pagan church like came to Catholicism. Like there's a whole thing that goes on. But it's super interesting. Anyway, this one woman, we're talking about healing, like me and you, how people go to healers and they go and get like healing done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the woman with the trees.
The fucking tree woman.
So this woman gets up, she starts speaking, and she's talking about how she went traveling because she just like, her relationship had just like broken down, her kids weren't like communicating with her, like basically her life was like in the shit. So she goes, I went to Mauritius, and everyone's going, what the hell? She goes, yeah, I thought it was called Mauritius, but it's called Mauritius. I found that out when I got there. So she went on a trip to Mauritius, and while she was, sitting down, writing in her journal, which apparently she told us like too much of, she then saw a tree and connected with that tree.
Just fell in love with a tree.
Yeah, like she's like, the trees are my people. Like she feels so strongly a connection with this tree. She went traveling around the world to find other trees.
To connect with trees.
She went to Greece. She went to like Italy. She said she went to Japan.
To connect with old fern and old bonsai and old oak.
Old cedar.
Old maple.
And I'm just sitting there going, is this woman off a rocket?
See, that's hard to believe those type of people. But
it's so hard. But you know what? All the power to you. Whatever you find a meaning in, that's totally fine. But the thing is, then she's going, if you want my healing package, sign up for 3 payments of $49.95, the 10 steps to ease. I'm like,
I'll go do that on my own time.
Is this a pyramid scheme? Like, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? It's so hard to go to those shows and not be a cynical bitch.
Yeah, because you're secretly just like, okay, cool. You go do your thing. You can go worship like that blade of grass, or you can go worship that plank of wood.
Rock,
go worship that rock for all I care. But please do not try and convince me that your powers.
But those people are there to hear about these things. And it's just like, you are so lost. You needed to come to this show today. Yeah, and you know what? You know what's really sad? It's the same people every show.
Yeah.
I see the same bloody people walking around.
Yeah.
And I know the people who are going to buy the jewellery. I know the people who aren't going to buy the jewellery. The ones who just want to have a chat with me for that day. No joke, because that's like their communication for the day.
It's their life.
And anyway, so this woman's going around and she's like, yeah, I formed a connection with the tree. One lady in the audience puts her hands up and goes, how do you know you've formed the connection with the tree? And she goes, oh, I don't think you were here at the start of my talk. I actually talked about that at the start of the talk. I was listening to the whole talk. She did not talk about that. Like, she just completely was like, you just connect with them. You just know, like, it's a calling. Like, she's like, why would I spend all this money going around the world if I didn't want to connect with the trees? I thought,
because you're obviously you had lost your marbles.
You know what I thought? Can you just admit you want a bloody holiday? Like, if you want to go to Greece, go to Greece. Don't use it as some spiritual enlightening excuse.
Don't bullshit me
and
say that you're going to
go party and go with strippers at Mykonos, you go for it. But please don't sit here and try and tell me it's because of the trees. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That one I was losing it at. And then this other guy was talking about manifestation. Now, manifesting is something that interests me because I know a lot of people who really believe in it.
What's manifesting?
Oh my God. We're going to do it right now.
Elaborate, please.
So manifesting is when you put things out into the universe, you think about things, the way you speak shifts, and you put out what you would like to receive. So if I wake up every day and I say, I want a abundant, healthy life, right? So I don't get up and go, the thing is, like, you shouldn't be negative. You shouldn't get up and go, I never want to get cancer. I never want to get cancer. I don't want to die. I don't want to get cancer. You should come and be like, I want a healthy, long, abundant life.
Yep.
And if you keep putting that out and keep asking for these things, that they will come to you. Really interesting.
That shit works. I used to try that.
Oh my God. Oh, he's a believer.
No.
Believer.
So you're saying that these people
right.
wake up and they're like, I want to live a healthy lifestyle, and they'll repeat that phrase, and then that's what they'll do. I used to
manifesting
do that.
Things.
I used to do that as a kid when I had like nightmares. I used to go to bed and say, I don't want to dream tonight, and guess who didn't dream?
That's negative though. You should say, I want to have a restful sleep. Like, I want to have a restful sleep. I want to have beautiful dreams.
I don't think I've dreamt for about 7 years after that.
No, you don't dream, or you don't remember them. You have to
probably
dream.
Don't remember them, but
like you force yourself not to remember them.
I don't remember dreams very vividly.
Well, speaking of dreams, segue
into what we call.
What else do you have?
I tell you what else is fucking weird. Sleep paralysis.
So you go through sleep paralysis, which I have
If you never had
the
it,
woods.
I've
never been through it, and I don't want to be.
I've had it at least 4 times in my life, and they're the exact same every time, and they are the worst, most scariest things you could ever have. And if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, it's the stage in like REM sleep, I think is what they call it.
REM?
Where you're awake, your body is functioning, but you're actually not awake.
It's like between your conscious, right?
Yeah. And
that's kind of powerful though.
And then what happens is you feel the urge to want to move, to want to like jolt yourself back into life, but your body is
like
asleep,
stuck in the middle.
And it's like it's not moving.
Right, and what happens in yours? So
and
they all differ.
They all vary. You can go from like hallucinations to seeing things to yada yada yada. But
so just explain like the whole process. So you sit down, and how do you know you're going to get it? What do you feel?
You don't know that you're going to get it, but most of the time that it's happened to me is when I am extremely tired.
Right, so like...
extremely tired.
Kicked like a sack.
Yeah, and my sleep paralysis has involved the same character for the 4 times, and that is...
You have a name for it?
No, I don't have a name for it. I just know what it looks like. It's a shadowy black figure in the background of in the corner of my room. And what else is also scary is that your surroundings are exactly the way you left them when you went to sleep and you woke yourself up.
So your shirt's there or something?
That shirt is in the exact same spot. Like,
what if you left the door open? Will the door be closed?
The door will be open. So 9 times out of 10, this figure is in the furthest far right corner, and he stands there, and that's when you start to panic and want to wake up, and that's when you can't wake up, and you can feel yourself yelling, but no one can hear you because you're not actually yelling. So
do they come towards you, or do they just stay there?
No, he stays there.
Oh, that's good.
He doesn't come towards me, but people have
how long does it last?
I'd say it lasts. Oh, it's hard to say how long it lasts because you don't actually know.
Like a few seconds.
A few seconds. Oh, probably longer than a few seconds. But yeah, possibly one of the worst.
And then do you wake up straight after?
Then you wake up, and then you're like, holy shit.
You're like, I'm not sleeping tonight, fellas.
There was one instance where I did feel myself thinking that I was going to go into it, and I stopped myself. I woke myself back up.
What the shit?
It was weird. That's probably the most connected I've ever been to myself.
To your
wake myself up out of sleep paralysis.
He's like, come on, bitch. Come on.
But
come on.
It was probably... They're probably the scariest things you could ever have. And people have fun hallucinations, but they're
people have fun, on LSD.
Well, apparently they get the kaleidoscope effect, and patterns and pictures come up in some people's, but in others they get the Hat Man is what one of them's called.
Oh wow.
One of them is like a demon.
Don't you think how that's so strange that all these different people have the same terrors?
And the third one is like an alien figure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fucking.
And what is yours?
Mental. Mine's just a figure. Mine's a black figure.
Does it look weedy?
It's
is
thin
it like
and
a
tall.
normal?
It's thin and tall, and it just sits in the corner.
So you can still see it.
Yeah.
Do you ever look in like the corner of your room and go, "You bastard"?
No, you just panic. But when I felt myself coming onto it, I like clicked into gear, and I was like,
"No,
shit, you gotta wake up."
Right.
And then I woke up like instantaneously after that.
That's kind of like interesting though.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if we studied the brain between you and me not having it, you having it, what would be the difference?
I don't know. That's weird.
Well, that's like I'm like I can't really say a victim. I like have extremely vivid dreams.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've told you many times, I'll get up and I have to ask someone, was that real? Because I don't know. And sometimes I won't remember one single dream, and sometimes I'll remember the 7 dreams that I had.
Yeah.
And often I'll have a dream and it will come true. Like someone will die in my dream, and then I'll wake up, and 2 days later that person dies. Or that's the scary stuff. When I was about 10, I remember my grandmother's neighbour, right? Super random. We always saw them because we were always over our grandparents' house. And I woke up one day like straight away and ran to my mum, was like, "Oh, I had a dream that this person died. What's going to happen? Like, She's like, "No, it's going to be fine." The next day, I went to my bubba's house, my grandma, and she was like, "Oh, I have bad news. Like, he died."
Crazy.
What? Like, I'm 10 years old, which children are more prone to, like supernatural activity, and there's all those stories about how kids can see ghosts and talk to them, and
yeah,
because they, have access to that intuition. I guess they don't let like external environmental like things affect them, and we don't put walls up when we're 10. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when we're that young, we are so open to anything, and as we get older and all these things affect us, we start like building up our coping skills and mechanisms, so we kind of shut that out. So I'm always super interested in intuitive people. Like I think psychics have just like locked in to an intuition that we are not able to lock into for whatever reason. Like intuition is like the most exciting thing I think that you can have access to.
Well, on your topic of like vivid dreamings and like your dreamings coming in reality and stuff like that, I did read a book, surprisingly. It was just a weird phase that I went through. I went through like, what would you say, like a self-help phase, like a searching for meaning phase.
Yeah.
And this one book that I read was by a Jewish doctor, Victor.
Oh, is this your Holocaust phase?
Oh my God, this book. So there was a doctor in a concentration camp working to the death. You know the whole story.
Yeah.
And he was, for him to survive, he actually told the guards that he was a doctor, but he was actually a neurologist. So he wasn't actually like a GP looking after sick like people and all that sort of stuff. He had his specific one.
Right.
But he had one patient come up to him one day and was like, "Doctor, I need to talk to you about this dream I had." And he proceeded to explain the dream. And in his dream, he spoke to himself. And his dream self asked him...
This is the patient.
This is the patient. The dream self asked him, "What do you want to know? I can tell you what you want to know." And this patient said, "I want to know when the war's going to end." And he said, "The war will come to an end on the 30th of March, like 19... Whatever it was."
Right.
And
so he woke up?
And he woke up from that, and that's when he kicked into gear and was like, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. This is great, the war's going to end.
And you've told me this story,
yeah.
But this guy was sick.
This guy was sick. This guy had some disease that went around the camp.
Right.
And one of the things was delirium, whatever the delirious stages are, where you hallucinate and stuff.
Delirium.
And he basically kept up hope for that whole month of March. It got to the 28th of March. No sign that the war was going to end. So it got to the 28th of March. His body, he got really sick 29th of March, went into a coma. 30th of March, he died. I get goosebumps all the time thinking about that. Because then you just picture it and you're like, holy shit, the war technically did end for him on that day. But in saying that...
And like his battle ended.
His battle, and then his mind was like, okay, it's over. And he died.
I wonder if you can do that. Like, I wonder if you could go into a dream and call for someone to give you a freaking sign.
Yeah, like, I just read it and I was
Could you imagine?
Crazy. Like, the war wasn't over for everyone. It was just over for him.
But also, the power of the mind.
Yeah.
Like, if you think something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, and you give up all hope,
his body
your
just
body
shut down.
Shuts down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, you know, people who are terminally ill or whatever, once they just clock out and they give up and they go, like, I can't do this anymore, that's their decline.
Yeah,
really.
And it's weird, and that's the same. That's when the like couples die. So like, say the woman dies, the man is more likely to die. That like same time frame.
Yeah.
And then
it happens quite often.
It's strange. It's
and like not very long after.
But I didn't do that book any justification. If you want to go read it, I suggest it. It's probably the only book I've ever recommended to anyone.
Tell the people what the book's called just one more time.
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning by
Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl.
Good fucking book.
There's our recommendation for today, ladies and gents.
Good book.
So we might do a second part to this because we have so many stories about the supernatural. And we really enjoy this topic. We're a little bit creepy. Like, we're a bit creeped out by it, but it's like so interesting and it's so many questions we can't answer.
It's a topic that is very, very strange.
And controversial and Backyard Beers approved. So
we'll leave it there for today.
Yeah. And
we will be back for part 2 of this topic. I don't know when. But when we get time. But
thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening
and showing support. Like smashing that like button.
Yeah, smash the like button, subscribe. You know what to do. Anyway, we gotta go.
We've actually.
We gotta go.
Before we go, we are sorry that the last episode didn't come out on Buzzsprout on iTunes.
On
We've
iTunes,
had an issue with that, but that
it'll be
getting fixed up shortly.
Anyway,
if you're missing it on iTunes.
Bye.
Goodbye for now.